Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ahmed Badji, and we're going to continue here our live coverage for the severe weather rolling into southeast Michigan. We're going to take things at a bit of a different pace than what you might be used to, because instead of having to have all that extra urgency, like if we're breaking into your television set, we're live streaming here, both on the CBS News app, on Pluto TV, on our website, cbsdetroit.com, and on YouTube. We're live streaming really on all of those as well. On YouTube, you can join in the conversation. Let us know what you're seeing and what everybody else is seeing as well. But here is what we're looking at first. You've got Livingston County, Washtenaw County, and Lenawee counties, all under severe thunderstorm warnings at this moment. You'll notice that each one of those, for example, you see the arrow drawn right here, you've got Livingston and Washtenaw counties included in a warning until 8 o'clock. Lenawee County goes until 7:45, so a little bit less time, but not drastically so. The hope is that some of these cells right here that are out ahead of the main line itself might be able to eat up some of the fuel before it makes it into, say, western Wayne County or even into Oakland County. But overall, the line itself is focused on wind. Now, there's a risk for some other things as well. You'll notice this tag, I'm sure you can see that in the upper corner of your screen. What that tells us is there's that isolated chance for a spin up. And we already had that today in Fraser in Macomb County. So there's that risk that goes hand in hand anytime you get a line of storms that's able to build this strong and roll its way farther to the east. It's just that perfect setup for it. So what we've got as well, when we get ourselves a little farther through, we got that, where's that at? Okay, that's just off to the western side. Just got a tornado warning just off to the west of our main broadcast area. We want to make sure we're keeping an eye on that. I'm going to tell our control room to make sure that they're on standby in case we need to break in on the air, because that's really close, but just something to keep an eye out for as well. It's just off to the side, so it's just off to the west of our primary broadcast area, but it's quick. So we're going to wait to have to break in, but we are prepared in case we have to. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in actually for a closer look and see that one individual cell right there where it's trying to move its way through, because obviously that's something you really want to be able to focus on. And it's definitely spun up rather quick within that mark. You can see where those brighter colors are going together. It's a pretty easy spot to be able to point out. You've got that tornado warning there going into areas just to the west of Livingston County, and that's going to be the key. So right in here, you can easily see that spin up spot. So not only is that matching up pretty well with the main reason that there's that warning there. Remember, we're not going to go onto the television just yet. It's just off to our west, and it only goes to the county line. So we're going to watch that real close here for you. But what we also have, we can look at some of the more in-depth rotation to see what's going on with that. It absolutely has that. You can see that orange spot right in the middle. And then we're going to look at one last thing. This is something called the correlation coefficient that helps us see if there's debris or anything on radar. Right now, I don't see too much right here for it. You can see this brighter spot just to the west could be an indication that something was trying to pick up a couple of tree limbs, but there's nothing bright there to worry about right now. Again, that's just to the west of Livingston County. And if you're streaming us, of course, you could be streaming us from anywhere. So if you're in southeast Michigan, in Metro Detroit, obviously you're probably watching, wondering about Detroit or areas a little farther to the west, but obviously we've got a lot more going on than just that right now. So what we're going to look at right here, let's pop this up, is the entire line as a whole. We've got the severe thunderstorm warnings for Livingston and Washtenaw counties and for Lenawee counties. We've got 1, 2, 3 all in a row along the line. There is that tornado warning. It's just to our west. It's over in Ingham County as it's trying to move its way to the east. One of the things I'm also doing off to the side right here is I'm communicating with some of the storm chasers that are in the field and seeing what's going on. It's really kind of an attempt to see if there's any funnel or anything within that cell that could try and move its way into Livingston County. But while we have that point that we're really focused on, all of that is going to try and stick through the rest of the evening. There's enough unstable air here that it's really trying to fuel it. And that's something that we've been watching very, very closely throughout the rest of the night, is where this line is going to try and dive its way through. Because that cell is looking more and more impressive, obviously, that's the reason the Weather Service there issued a tornado warning specifically for trying to get into western Livingston. It's not there yet. It goes really just for a little bit longer for it as well. That specifically goes until 7:30, so it's a very short fused warning that you can see right here, this individual spin up, but it looks actually a little stronger. So what I've got off to the side here is a little bit more. What we can do is we're going to go in for a much closer look on this and break down where that cell is going to try and roll its way to the east, because there's enough of a setup right here. Yeah, it's rotating really actually pretty good. And we keep looking at where those bright spots are, those pinks and the greens. There's still no big debris signature or anything there, which we've seen sometimes. If you remember 2023, for example, August of 23, they had that real nasty one outside of Williamston that rolled its way down 96, and Weberville right along 96. So we don't have that type of signature, and that's always something we look at very, very closely. And even just going down the line, for example, there's that rotation there, of course, but I'm going to look all the way down the line a little bit more to see if we have anything additional, which we don't. That's the good stuff for us to be able to talk about then. We don't have anything more. Looks like, yeah, down toward Toledo, obviously they have that stronger cell still moving through. It's just those spots there from outside of Chelsea could be a little bit, but the stuff right here in Ingham County that's just on the edge of Livingston, it's real close, but it's not into the county there. What I want you to see right here, see where you've got the reds, obviously it's easy to see where the rain is at the most intense, but notice how you've got this red trying to kind of swing around. You've got this little notch right in that line. That's where that rotation is at, kind of like pedaling a bike, right? So within that exact point is where you have that strongest rotation, and it matches up fairly well with what you've actually got on velocity then. So right there, you can see it. Right in that main spot is where that rotation is at its strongest. But the winds alone are still strong. So you're going north of Stockbridge right here. That's moving over toward the Iosco area. Each one of these little kind of kinks in the line is where you can get a quick spin up. That's what we have to look at for tonight, because it's not something that goes for a very short period of time. You know, you get each one of these little spots that can do that. Each one of those only lasts for a short period, but the entire line itself, all it's going to do here is just fuel and fuel and fuel itself off the heat we've been able to build throughout the entire day. That's been probably the biggest concern for us to have to worry about, is where is this going to move through. What I'm looking at here now as well, because again, that's just on the edge. It's trying to do something, but it hasn't dropped yet. You've got from Ann Arbor, see how it suddenly bends to the west and then back down to the south? That is that main line right here that continues to try and rush out ahead. So each of those cells that was moving a lot faster than the actual primary line itself are now reconnecting, and that builds in a whole other issue. You can get a little spinning right here where it makes kind of that dog leg bend. You've got a couple cells right out ahead of it. If that moves into, for instance, air or a breeze coming off the lake, you could try and get some activity in southern Wayne County, or especially downriver. You've also got, again, all the way up here where all of this is moving into unstable air. We have plenty of gas in the tank. If you want to try and compare it, what we have in our atmosphere right now is not regular old gas that you put in your car or our family van. It's that high octane stuff. We're talking premium. We're talking race fuel. That's what we're looking at in our atmospheric gas tank right now, which is why initially Jackson County didn't have a whole lot going on, and all of a sudden all the storms fired off again. That's why it's now this connected line of severe storm activity. We can take a live look as well from our tower cam. You can see the clouds are trying to coalesce a little bit more, but it's been so solid with that heat that all of this is still now just trapping all that moisture and warmth down at the surface. It can't escape, can't go anywhere. We've made it worse by getting some cloud cover now, which unfortunately causes that to continue here for a little bit longer. It's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. The watch itself goes until 10 o'clock. So that's how long this will last for. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings, baseline right now here for Livingston and Washtenaw and Lenawee counties until 8 o'clock here for Livingston and Washtenaw, right in the depths of it, just to the west of Ann Arbor, by the way. And then all the way down to the south, Lenawee as well. That one goes until 7:45. The tornado warning that's right there just off to our west, and I think I know why the Detroit office hasn't extended it. It's because this is a divide right here. Ingham County is serviced by the Grand Rapids National Weather Service office. Livingston County is serviced by the Detroit Weather Service office that's based out of White Lake. That's where the radar beam is right here. So it's right on that line. The hope from Grand Rapids and Detroit is that the system can actually die out by the time it makes it to the county line, and Detroit doesn't have to pick that up as a new warning. But it is worth watching. So if you're in western Livingston County, based on what we've been seeing with some of this rotation as well, I'm going to take one last peek before I kind of make that call there for you, but it's definitely got some strong rotation within that spot. And you can see where it's a little more broad. It's not some big kind of tight spot. It's all just kind of scattered around within that warning. This shows specifically rotation, or what we call shear, within that warned cell. But it's a lot more broad. That's always the good news for you, but I don't see anything overly concerning with it. Looking at debris, I don't see anything jumping out at me, which we don't want to have happen. So it'll be an important note to see if the Detroit office grabs onto that or not and extends it into Livingston County. I don't necessarily think they will, but there is always that potential. Either way, along this line, what I want you to do, if you're in any of the warned cells, or even if you're in, for instance, western Monroe County, or in western Wayne County, if you're in western Oakland County, make sure you're indoors. That's number one thing. I know we're all in the Midwest, and every single one of us likes to walk outside and look around. But what I want you to do is make sure you're indoors and away from windows. That's a new update. Okay, that's a brand new one. So this warning right here, the one for Washtenaw and for Livingston, has been upgraded now to what we call a considerable tag severe thunderstorm warning. We talked about this during our 6 o'clock broadcast on CBS News Detroit. There are 3 different levels of severe thunderstorm warnings: baseline, considerable, and destructive. When you have a considerable tag, that means a risk of 70-mile-an-hour winds or up to golf ball size hail. We don't have the hail, but we have the wind. We're looking at 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds right now within that cell. We're going to take a closer look at Lenawee as well to make sure that hasn't decided to upgrade on us. That one right here, looking at Adrian. Let's go in actually for a closer look. There we go. That one is still baseline. So Adrian in Lenawee County, I apologize if I'm not looking enough at your area, but it does match that you're at more of a baseline, and it's more concerning up to the north. And that's what we've been seeing with where that main part of the cell has been trying to swing its way through. Washtenaw County, there's some of the stronger winds. You can see them right here, actually just to the southeast of Chelsea, west of Ann Arbor. So between Saline and Ann Arbor is where some of those stronger winds will go right there. See, and each one of these spots, you can see a little bit right here, just to the west of Manchester. Each one of these little kinks in the line can bring in some light rotation. And we go up to the north right here. That one's still trying to wrap around, but it's not doing it. So that tornado warning, of course, has been allowed to expire. They've gotten rid of that, or actually I believe they canceled it now. Double check that. But the main setup there, that tornado warning is done. The Detroit office not picking that up to extend it, which means that because that's going to continue there, they're keeping a close eye on that surge coming out of Ingham County. Obviously the rotation is very broad, but because of the strength of the winds, looks like 70-mile-an-hour winds coming in just to the north of Gregory if you're out that way. So we got to keep an eye out there, obviously, because there's a lot of stuff going on throughout southeast Michigan. Kids are mainly getting out of school, so there's a lot of different evening activities going on. Tigers already postponed their game, but this wind right there, I think it's pretty easy to see that big, bright spot on the map right there. Shows the most intense winds that are trying to roll their way through. And that's what we're going to go in for a real close look on. Where is that going to head? So into the Iosco area, you can see that there. That's where those stronger winds are going to go. They move into the Marion area along I-96. You can see that that's going to continue a little bit more off to the east there, because while we ride 96 down through the Howell area, that's basically where we're going to see a lot of these winds try and spread out a little bit more. And as it does that, overall the winds should weaken a bit. They won't be as concentrated, but they're still strong. They could be closer to about 65 miles an hour. But the strength of them right now, even just the fact that they're worried about 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts within that line, that's always a big concern there for us. So let's go and check out once more where that other cell is going, because that one is another one we have to worry about. This one right here. See how it's advancing out ahead of the line? This one's going to be moving into Belleville, if it's not already there, to be quite honest. You're probably pretty close to Belleville seeing that storm right there. That's going to move its way to the east. Metro Airport, likely in the path of that cell too. It's not a severe warned storm, but it's plenty strong enough to be able to cause some potential delays if you're trying to take off anytime in the next half an hour to 45 minutes. Don't be surprised. Check with your flight because that's going to have a chance to swing here. Metro Airport's here, Belleville's here. You got Canton, there's Michigan Avenue with Ypsi right here. So while this heads farther to the east, at least this one out ahead of it is going to be that advancing line storm, unfortunately. That'll continue again past Metro Airport over toward the downriver communities. You got Woodhaven, you got Wyandotte. Everybody's going to be right within where this one will try and go if it doesn't weaken down enough. So the rate of speed of some of these cells too, we can actually track out where that line is going to go. Let me get the latest reading on some of these. Let's see. And actually, because of the line on how strong the winds are, a word of caution in Washtenaw County. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. It is that 70-mile-an-hour risk for severe thunderstorm warning winds, right? So the chance for 70. But we do have a damage report from the emergency manager in Jackson County, where they've got about 70 to almost 100, 700 to almost 1,000 customers without power right now, and several large trees and wires down in Jackson County. So the winds are strong enough within this part of the line that's moving into Washtenaw County to be able to cause not just some tree damage, but also wire damage. And again, for all of you that are watching, by the way, we are continuously live streaming on our website, cbsdetroit.com, on the CBS News app, you can do that, on Pluto TV, and of course on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, by the way, hello, join in the conversation. Enjoy the chat, of course. Chat with everybody, be nice. But again, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning right here, Monroe County, with 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Monroe County, your warning will go until 8:30. This one right here, I'm not sure if that one is going to get warned earlier than the line itself, but it's got some strength to it. And if we loop this, we don't always loop things, but I think it's worth looking at when it comes to this instance, because it might be a little more parked than we'd like it to be. Yeah, you can see it right here. So watch how it moves. It's not just to the east. You can see it moves to the north and then extends to downriver. So that's what I was talking about with areas like Woodhaven, Wyandotte, everybody downriver getting some showers of storms. The main cell now moving up to the north. If you're in, say, Canton or Plymouth, this cell will likely move into your area, western Livonia. Belleville, obviously you're right in the weeds with it right now. That's where you're going to get some heavy, heavy rain and of course some solid rumbles within that one cell alone. But the rest of this line moves east, these cells move north. They kind of get eaten by the line, if you want to think of it like that. That alone can cause things to rotate. So while this portion right here moves to the east and this cell moves to the north, eventually they're going to collide. And when it happens, at that point of intersection, when this line moves in and this cell moves up, that's where you can get rotation. It's where you have that merger of two different storms. So we're going to have to track that, not because it alone has heavy rain and, of course, storm activity within it, but because you can get that merger, and that could be a concern. So wherever that goes, and wherever that goes, we're going to have to watch where it ends up wanting to collide, or at least try and absorb it within the line. But again, Monroe County, your warning here goes until 8:30. You've got Lenawee County, yours goes until 7:45. Washtenaw and Livingston counties, while your warning goes until 8, we'll see if they do anything with it. I think it might be able to get canceled a little early if the line gets past the county lines by 8 o'clock. But again, we're at 7:18 now. You can see right here where that's pushing its way through. It's definitely bowed out a bit, without a doubt, and we look at that velocity right there to see where that might set up. I mean, there's plenty of wind. Without a doubt, there's plenty of wind. If you're in Howell, by the way, right here, if you're in Howell, the strongest of the winds are moving right in that direction. So it may not be a tornado, but it's some very intense straight line winds of 70 miles an hour. It may not be a bad idea to head to your basement now just because of that. It's not the same strength. It's not a tornado, but those intense straight line winds, they can topple trees, they can cause power outages. We already have reports from Jackson County Emergency Management that it has done that. So for safety's sake, if you're along 96 or if you're in the Howell area there, it's worth keeping an eye on for how that's going to evolve. And there's another update again, still holding at 70 miles an hour for those winds. Let's see if they've got another update down to the south. Lenawee getting trimmed away just a hair as the main portion of the line advances to the east. Rotation itself, still focused there in Livingston County. I mean, it's still strong within that main spot. I don't see anything popping up when it comes to debris, which is always a good thing to say, but I mean, that is without a doubt a very powerful cell. I'd say we're verging on supercell criteria within that portion of the line. So that's what we have to look at while we get a little farther into the late part of it. So watch how all of that's going to move here over the next about half an hour. That main one right here, that big old red sore dot that we've got in western Livingston County is going to roll right toward Howell, and that gives you that 70-mile-an-hour wind. Hamburg, the township area there, you're going to see that main portion of the line probably not as strong with the wind, but still strong enough. It's stronger. It's a considerable severe thunderstorm warning. Go from Hamburg all the way down toward Chelsea, also working with a little bit more of that also. And our tower cam, again, actually, while I'm thinking about our tower cam, I'll pop up the radar again so that we've got a little time. But if it's possible to turn it a little bit more to the west or the southwest, we'll probably have the tower in the way a little bit. But if it's possible to turn the camera to the west or the southwest, that would be actually a big help so we can kind of see what the line looks like as it's moving in our direction. So once that's done, just give me a heads up. But once the main line right here continues into the east, this portion that's moving over Belleville is going to continue up to the north. The estimated arrival time for some of these too, they're moving at really not a very fast clip. The one, for instance, in Monroe County, that line there is moving at right here. That's going to head into Monroe County. This is moving at about 45 miles an hour. So it's at a solid speed, but it's not anything that's really to write home about when it comes down to that. What we have right here for Livingston and Washtenaw County is, again, more of that 45-mile-an-hour wind. So or 45-mile-an-hour motion, not wind. The wind itself is 70, but it's also moving to the northeast. So what we can do with that, and to try and time it out, as a matter of fact, is we're going to draw a line right here and actually show you exactly where this whole thing tries to go. So let's draw this out for you. And then we're going to bring it up to the northeast at about that 45-mile-an-hour mark. There it is. So here are some estimated arrival times for where this is going to be moving. Hamburg, I mean, it's right on your doorstep. It's going to be there real close. It's 7:22, 7:24 is what the computer is estimating for the arrival. Ann Arbor, 7:33. Ypsi, 7:43. Again, these are basically give or take 5 minutes. That's what we're seeing. About give or take 5 minutes. Canton, real close, 7:53, if not already. Well, actually, Canton for the main line, 7:53. But there's that one cell right here that is going to hit Canton now. So you're going to get a storm, but the main severe storm will not be there until after. That'll be 7:53. Livonia, 8:04. Pontiac, 8:07. Dearborn, about 8:19. That's the timeline that we got right now. So, and then it will continue to walk all the way to the east, which means that areas in Macomb County where they're cleaning up from the tornado damage and the flood damage today, you probably won't see the line until at least 8:30. That's what we're watching for when it comes down to it. So let's see what we've got. Looks like the camera's there. So you can see right there, actually, if we look real close, yeah, so look at this dark line right here. See this? Follow this right all the way across the camera lens. That's that leading edge of the line itself, especially right here. It shows you that it's lower to the ground. And more than likely, I bet we have probably a shelf cloud out on the leading edge of this thing, and that's probably a little more jagged, but you can actually see the leading edge of the line in the distance. It's all one big color because it's just pouring. That's what we can see right there. Let's bring in our radar one more time. But again, to be able to see that right there from our tower camera at this moment and actually see it coming toward us, our tower right now is in Southfield. That's where our studio is right now. So we're looking again from basically Southfield to that west, so we can actually see the line itself trying to form. Canton again, getting that heavier storm right here, severe storm line right here, 70-mile-an-hour gusts moving into Livingston County with plenty of fuel for us to have to watch for. Got another update coming in from the Detroit office right there, still holding on to the 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts up until that 8 o'clock mark. Let's see. Still the power outages coming in, more power outages and a little more damage coming in from Jackson. So this is plenty of fuel for us to work with. And actually for the control room, if we can pop this up full screen for a second, I want to be able to type something in off to the side. So if we can pop this up full screen real quick, I'm going to try and make a little edit to where one of these warnings is going, because it does have plenty of fuel for that main timeline. So let's bring that back up full again here for it. Let's prop that up. All right, there we go. Okay, so the main setup with this, as it continues a little more to the east as well, is by the time this right here, you see how this little bubble right here is kind of bowing out both down to the south and to the east at the same time? We should see these two right here begin to connect over likely the next 20 minutes or so. It's becoming a bit more ragged, which is better. It's at least a little better news for us. There's another update. You can kind of see it shaving away at least a little bit more off to the west. But when we go in for a closer look right here at each of these individual cells, let's work our way up the line. There's that 70-mile-an-hour gust risk that we're still watching for, and we've had that issue in Livingston County, and it's still there easily along that edge. Let's see, still there, Lenawee, they're continuing that warning. All the updates I keep getting just off to the side are different things, like different storm chasers we talked to, emergency management, the weather service. It's all different reports that are just off to the side right here. So when you see me turn to the side, that's what I'm actually doing, is communicating with them. But there's those stronger wind gusts moving into, again, the Howell area. This is something we always have to watch for. You see how it's kind of bowing in here? And you've got this, almost like this, you know, when you just draw a stick figure bird, just flapping its wings right here. That's the shape of where you can get some rotation on the edge of that. It's more than likely going to, if it was going to do that, it would be on this edge wrapping around this point. That's where it bows out and then has a chance to curve counterclockwise. We call that a QLCS, and that's where we have to keep a real close eye on how that wants to form. Let's see where the stop radar wants to throw us right now. So the storms themselves, we've got a couple of different edges to this. You have the strongest wind right here that's moving its way down the line. You have more, of course, in Washtenaw County moving its way down the line, and it's different bowing segments that you get within this. Monroe County, again, your warning there continues for a little longer as well. Lenawee County trimming away more. So everybody west of Adrian, it's just rain for you. Rain and a couple of regular old rumbles. That's it. That main portion of the storms will continue into Monroe County here shortly. Again, stronger storm. It's what we'll call a strong storm. Not a severe storm, but a strong storm right here, moving its way through areas near Canton and Belleville. You can see there's Michigan Avenue right here. Livonia is up this way, so that's going to be a concern. You've got Westland and Wayne likely going to, if you're not hearing the rumbles already, you likely will. That's going to continue up to the north right there, so that's something we have to watch real close. Well, that moves its way up to the north because eventually this line is going to catch up with this cell, and wherever that has a chance to join up, you can get a little bit more spin once that happens. I'm really happy we haven't had an additional, I don't want to jinx it, we haven't had an additional tornado warning for our main area yet. We had that earlier, of course. That was down in, or rather over in Macomb County. I'm still looking at some of the main parts of the updates too. So they're continuing that warning there for Lenawee, and just up until, again, that 7:45 mark, so not much time left, 7:28 right here. Lenawee will continue just for about the next 17 minutes or so, while we still have these little kind of kinks in the line that we have to watch. That's the main thing I'm looking at here, is keeping an eye on each of these little ones. And again, if you're joining us on our live stream, by the way, this is a little more laid back. We can take our time with some of this here when, instead of, you know, breaking into your TV, which hopefully we won't have to do, of course, for tonight. But we're live right now on the CBS News app, on Pluto TV, on our website, cbsdetroit.com, and of course on YouTube. You can join in the conversation there. Let us know what you're seeing. You know, we'd always love to be able to get your reports. Some of those help to be able to confirm the tornado damage in Macomb County earlier today. That was something that ended up being a very big help to the National Weather Service. And when we look at each one of these individual spots, that's something up toward Howell that we've really been keeping an eye on, because that's where the straight line winds are at their strongest. It's those 70-mile-an-hour winds that are spreading their way out right along 96, which it's a pain anytime it gets windy and you're trying to deal with heavy rain on the interstate. Now imagine you're having to deal with 60 or 70-mile-an-hour winds along with the rain. That's the issue there. Also, of note, along 96 in this area, there have been pictures in the past couple of weeks of people stopping underneath overpasses on the interstate because they either A, don't want to have to drive in the storm, or B, it's hailing and you don't want to dent your paint. Don't do that. You back up the entire interstate behind you, and everybody now is stuck. If there was something like a tornado in that environment, nobody can go anywhere. So I understand wanting to be able to pull off to the side. That's fine. But if you're clogging the actual lanes underneath an overpass, that's where it becomes dangerous. Please don't do that. Absolutely do not do that. And that's something that we have seen pictures storm chasers have sent me from along 96 in Livingston County last week. So please do not do that. That's something that we definitely want to make sure we mention for everybody. And looking at where all of this is trying to swing its way through, it's not something that's going at a very fast clip. So we can take a wider view right here. It's moving to the northeast. The line itself anyway, not the little cells that you can see right there in western Wayne County, but the line itself is moving at about 45 miles per hour. And that gives you a good push up to the northeast. So the whole thing kind of sweeps through. But the stuff down here in Lenawee and then eventually into Monroe County, that will move at exactly 45 miles an hour, and it'll clear Monroe County by the time we get to about probably 8:15. The morning there goes until 8:30, but more than likely it'll clear it by 8:15. So that'll get your way out of that county pretty fast. So what we'll do right here is we'll trace this out again for everybody so you can get an idea of what we're looking at with the line. We're going to redraw that. Let's give this one more try here again. All right, let's draw this out. And what we see as we bring that up to the northeast at, again, 45 miles per hour, it's a pretty fast clip. These are some of the latest arrival times that we're expecting with this. Ann Arbor, I mean, it's basically on your doorstep now at this point. Ypsilanti, same thing. It's just after that. White Lake, where, by the way, the Weather Service Office of Fort Detroit is at. That's in White Lake. That's where that radar beam is coming from. Canton at 7:57, Livonia, and that's the main line, by the way. Canton, you're getting that storm right now, but you're going to get the main line at 7:57. Livonia, 8:09 for the main line. Dearborn, 8:22, and right downtown, 8:26. And again, give or take about 5 minutes. That's how this is going to continue to move its way to the east. And it's not a baseline severe storm. It's not. It's a 70-mile-an-hour wind, what we call considerable tagged severe thunderstorm warning. That's one that we're watching for right there. So while that continues to swing its way a little bit more to the east, we have to watch real close on how long it's going to take before it gets a chance to exit the region. The good news is the strongest of the winds in Livingston County are finally getting their chance to calm down a little bit more. At least not to that 70 mark. You can see that. Earlier, it was a very, very aggressive kind of bubble moving its way in. But remember what I said about these areas trying to spin up around the edge? We saw that little bit of a dent. We're trying to do the same here. If this overruns that portion of the line that's up near the Cohocton area, then that can try curve around. You could get a quick spin up that way. But I saw, just at brief glance, down to the south right here, it looks like there's a little bit of rotation trying to pop up right here. You can see that part. Yeah, that's just to the west of 23, southwest of Dundee. So that is going to move its way a little farther to the east near Ida Center. I mean, that's the center of that severe thunderstorm warning right now. That's the main part. It's not a warned area, but if you're in Monroe County, especially in Dundee, the Ida Center area, maybe the Temperance, I think you're good. It'll be some stronger winds for you, but it's not going to be that. Or even Monroe itself. You can see out that way. This whole thing has a chance to kind of sweep its way through. Keep a real close eye on it, or at least stick with our stream here, because that is definitely another little spot. Let's actually see if we can detect more of the more concentrated rotation there. No, that's the good news. Okay, so what we've got then is more of a focus on heavy rainfall and hail. Yep, there we go. We actually have a little bit of hail highlighted within that. So if you didn't know, every severe thunderstorm warning rotates. Every single one. It's just, is it the tornado type of rotation or is it a different type of rotation? Because not all rotations are the exact same kind of rotation. Are you confused yet? So here's the thing. It's like your vacuum. If you have a clear case on it, you see how everything inside it spins around? You need a rotating updraft to be able to create hail. And that's what you're getting within that cell. So while that pushes its way up to the north, or rather the northeast, it will continue to try and fuel itself. And that's what that little red dot was. So it's not tornadic rotation, because we looked at shear. We don't have anything being red there. But you still have a little bit of rotation. So it's hail focused in the updraft. Not the kind that you have to worry about something touching down from, at least not for now. You got these couple of cells out ahead of the line that are trying to weaken it, but as these are rolling through, again, Livingston and Washtenaw, Lenawee into Monroe counties, we'll see if they extend it. You'll notice it's not all of Washtenaw County, including in the warning. You see how there's that little bit of a cutoff here? Livingston County, it ends at the county line. But I wonder if it's going to weaken enough that they won't have to extend it. I don't necessarily see that happening because it's still strong enough on that northern edge that we may see just enough moving toward White Lake. More than anything else, I bet Oakland County gets warned here, and maybe the rest of Washtenaw County in the next 5 minutes or so. They might update to fill in the rest of it. But if they're not following it already and it's just west of Ann Arbor, I'm kind of surprised that they wouldn't issue a warning to give it that update out ahead of time. That would be something to give everybody at least a little bit more of a heads up, right? But with the way that's going to be moving its way a little bit more to the east, that would match pretty well. And again, when we look at where this whole thing has been trying to swing its way through, I think we've got a new model update we can show you. Yeah, so it's in our counties now. So this is just about 20 minutes behind schedule, but you get the idea. That'll move its way a little bit more to the east, and as it does, it's cleared the area basically by 9 to 10. That's when it's done. So behind it, it's showers and a couple of regular storms, but the actual threat itself completely exits the region at that point. And what we've got, too, is that severe thunderstorm watch for everybody right here. This continues until 10. It does. Now, most of the time, we've been able to get to that end time for the watch, and it's been able to just expire. We don't have to worry about it. Or they cancel it early, which is what we've seen for areas off to the west. That would be a good hope for tonight, is that we don't have to worry too much about the rest of it, and we can just go immediately into that next stage of just recovery. We're going to check in again on this. Let's see if we can get this. Yeah, another live look here from our tower cam. And actually see a little bit of texture. You see that right there, that heavier cloud? We're seeing a little texture within that main line as it comes in. That's that main flank where the wind gusts are trying to pick up a little bit. So it doesn't tell you necessarily a lot. It tells me storm's coming. I know, that probably seems a little bit more boring, but we match up pretty well with where that front is at. I'm actually getting another update here from couple of storm chasers. Yeah, there's a good, a very nice shelf cloud moving into Monroe County right now. It looks like you can see it from Lambertville. If you've got a window facing that way and you're not in the storm yet, might be pretty cool to be able to see, but don't head outside and stay away from the window if you're in the storm, of course. But in Monroe County, a very pretty shelf cloud, it looks like, that's trying to pop up within that line moving through Monroe County. This, of course, moving farther to the east. No warnings extended yet. Nothing there extended. So I'm wondering if they've sent another update on if they're going to be doing that. Looks like they're focusing on them being what we call strong. So strong storms moving into the rest of Washtenaw and Wayne County. Not severe. There's a difference there. In Livingston County, still the stronger wind gusts right there, but maybe we'll get lucky and a lot of this will die out before it makes it to, for instance, downtown. But still that stronger pocket of wind all the way up in Livingston County as well. That's something that we keep looking at. So you've got plenty in the way of those winds right there. You can see that little bit of a pocket of wind right here outside of Hamburg Township. And that's the other portion that we keep looking at too, because you can get really quick rotation in some of these spots that you really don't want to necessarily have to get. What I'm looking at off to the side right here too, by the way, is where you've got these storm chasers at and where they're getting some of these reports from too, because they've been sending me at least a little bit here. Stronger winds right there. There's been minor little pockets of rotation, but nothing able to lower from the ground. That's where eyes on the ground become so much more important. It's not just what does the Doppler radar tell you. Anybody could look at that and say, well, it looks windy. Yes, but what else goes along with that? So along this here, again, very broken. The storms themselves moving into the eastern part of Washtenaw County will have a chance to weaken a little bit. So that'll be a major plus there for us. That'll continue to move its way a little bit more to the east and then eventually try and die out a bit, which it's doing. It's trying to do that. But we're not quite to that point. Monroe County, again, still a good line that's moving its way through, but you're at baseline. So the only thing I can tell you there is, hey, a nasty storm is coming, make sure, again, you are inside and away from windows because the straight line winds have been pretty potent. That's what I can tell you for right there. That's going to move its way again to the east, and it should probably clear Monroe County within about the next half hour to 45 minutes. Ann Arbor, you're basically surrounded right now by some pretty good cells and some pretty hefty rainfall. The last update was everything was moving northeast at 45, and that does still appear to be the case. So the latest, what we call a strong storm update, is putting it at about wind gusts of 45 to 50 miles an hour. Not bad, but not severe. That's good news. And that's still moving to the northeast at 45. So still strong storms, but not going to be at that excessive level. Now, once this gets a chance to calm down a little bit more, let me see where that's at. There it is. We can time out the new update on the line, bring that up to the northeast a little bit. Let's see, bring that back out. There it is. All right. Need to go a little bit more than that. There we go. 44, 45, right on the money. So the way it bows in, should be moving into some of these spots here shortly. If you're watching us, by the way, from the other side of the river, hello, Windsor, you're going to be at closer to about 828. Should be within, again, the main line. We'll be back into the Canton area by about 7:48. So we're already seeing the one cell, but the rest of it will move in shortly after that. Dearborn, again, 812. Detroit, about 818. All within pretty much the same times we saw before. Clinton Township, I told you earlier, actually, just about half an hour ago, that close to 8:30 was when it would be moving through Macomb County. There we go, 8:34 in Clinton Township. So we're right on the line for when we're going to be able to see that moving its way on through. We're just about able to get that moving. And that severe thunderstorm warning has been downgraded. That's the good news. So this was a considerable tag 70-mile-an-hour storm with a tornado possible. Now it's a baseline 60-mile-an-hour storm, less than 3/4 of an inch hail potential, heavier rainfall, which does bring in the issue that we talked about earlier, by the way, which was the fact that we had actually some pretty nasty stuff in Macomb County earlier. If you're joining us now, so in Macomb County, we can pop up the rest of this, bring in the last from the past 24 hours. There we go. So each one of these are flooding reports from within the flash flooding from earlier today. This was that confirmed tornado report that was in Fraser earlier. So that was a tornado. We had one flash flood report, or one flash flood warning, plenty of reports to go with it. We had one tornado warning, we had a confirmed tornado to go with it. We are 2 for 2 on those primary warnings now. We'd like to stay away from anything more, but there's plenty once that line continues to move into more unstable air. Let's pop up the radar one more time. There it is. Monroe County again, that warning here goes until 8:30. So we've got just about 48 minutes left before that finally goes away. Addition, the hardest thing, right? But you've got the rest of the counties right here still with that warning that's getting shaved away a little bit more. Latest update, that's what that little blink was from the National Weather Service, is where they're going to continue or try and trim some stuff away. So they're going to continue that warning from Monroe County again until 8:30, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts there. Still, again, some damage and power outage reports from just to our west in Jackson County. As this line moves east, we'll be able to try and clear that out. So once this warning right here kind of gets a chance to fizzle away, we might be able to kind of drop that, and that wouldn't be as big of an issue. Let's see. Make sure that there's no rotation there. And that's the main thing we keep checking too, because right along this is where you've had those stronger gusts, which it looks like those are trying to go away. That is the good news. Let's see what we got. So we still have some good wind gusts in Monroe County, still working with the same in Ann Arbor. Up to the north, still working with now baseline and weakening winds in Livingston County. So lots of improvement along the whole line. We've got some good storms, but we're getting rid of some of the stronger stuff. So that's a major plus there for us. So what we'll do here is we're going to go for probably another couple of minutes then, because this likely will not get expanded. And this one going through Monroe County will have a chance to calm down a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll be able to give it a bit of a break as long as that moves east. So we're going to look at one or two things here. Yep, so the main part of rotation, that one's not a worry now. That's going to move its way up to the north. and that crawls its way a little bit more to the east. We're right on time for this. So what we'll do then, and a heads up then for the digital desk and also for our control room, is we're going to put out one last update here for the timeline. And then I think we'll actually be able to let it go here because it's all going to baseline and weakening below baseline. That'll give us a chance to have a bit of a breather, and then we don't have to worry about how long this is going to stick. So bring that back out. Timeline looks about the same. Detroit right around 8:20, Windsor 8:28. You got Canton at 7:56, Livonia 8:06, Ypsilanti real close within the next minute or so. Everything's right on time, and it is getting that chance to weaken down a little bit. So that's something we'd like to be able to see. They are not extending those warnings. And that's going to continue to move its way east. Yes, so these warnings are going to be allowed to expire and actually maybe cancel a little earlier. This line moving through Monroe County, not exhibiting any signs of rotation. We're right at baseline. There's nothing of concern there. We're at regular winds, starting to calm on down a little bit, trying to move their way into western Oakland County and into Washtenaw County as well. They're still good storms, but they're going to get away from that severe limit. So what we're going to do then is we're going to try and re-rack some of the stuff here for you. We're going to keep an eye on this as this warning gets ready to come to an end and the Monroe County cell moves its way off to the east. If anything gets a little stronger or if we get a new warning, then we're going to jump back in. But we're going to keep an eye on some of these cells. If you're in front of the line, it's going to storm, but it looks like we're getting a chance to try and weaken some of these things. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break right here from our stream. We'll be back on if anything else gets stronger or decides to pop up again. But for now, thanks for watching on our live severe weather stream.
Your daughter hired me to bring you home.
I can only describe it as evil.
Follow and listen to Train to Kill, The Dog Trainer, The Heiress, and The Bodyguard on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
My job can get dangerous sometimes.